Hey, welcome to Pints and Perspectives. Hey,
Wow.
I still don't have that button.
I made it for you. I think it was on the bottom. Whatever. Welcome back.
Hey, welcome back to this new iteration of that good old. Oh, I didn't come up with a song to sing. Oh well.
That's all right.
We're gonna still drink beer though, correct?
Always, every time. Every time.
It's
an age-old tradition
Uh-huh.
for people to sit around and drink beer or wine and talk about divinity, God, the things around them.
Is it easier to talk about God when you're intoxicated?
Absolutely. Our brain must be altered in some way to understand the things of the divine.
Ooh, y'all heard it here first on Pints and Perspectives. Alter that brain. And today we're going to alter that brain with the 2023 Eclipse Barrel-Aged Imperial Stout. Now, this is from the brewers. Oh, what's their name? Gosh, man, I do all this research and then forget all the things I learned. 50/50 Brewing. This is from 50/50 Brewing, and this is a series.
Where is that?
Man, I literally don't know. I paid a lot of money for this beer, though. I know that much.
HEB or like somewhere here local? Or?
Definitely HEB. It's a seasonal. They do a bunch of different beers, but they release like an Eclipse variant list every year.
Okay.
So what they do is it is a imperial stout, but then they do a bunch of different ones each year and age them differently. Okay. So there's a Frey Ranch bourbon barrel Eclipse. There's an Old Trestle bourbon barrel, a Elijah Craig 12-year bourbon, an Old Fashioned blend, a Honeycomb blend, a London Fog blend, and the Garrison Brothers single barrel Eclipse.
Wait, Garrison Brothers, the distillery Garrison Brothers?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
It has been.
They're in Fredericksburg, if I remember, or just outside of Fredericksburg.
Sure.
Garrison Brothers?
You tell me, bro. It's
hey, man, I know my whiskey.
Texas. I'm going to start pouring this. But it is an imperial stout. It has been aged for 18 months in Garrison Brother bourbon barrels. Let me see your glass.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And what are we saying? 12.9, 12.5 ABV. This is a 2023. So ideally you would age this a few years. So which I just couldn't help myself. I've actually never had this beer before. I bought it during the winter when I had a, as Cullen would say, a hankering. A hankering for some stouts.
Ate up with
a hankering.
Yeah, in High, Texas, just outside of Fredericksburg.
Yeah, so now in its 16th vintage, 2023 Eclipse is our rich imperial stout aged to perfection in whiskey and spirit barrels. All Eclipse starts with the same base beer, bringing hints of dark chocolate espresso and a smooth complexity, with each barrel treatment delivering its own unique character after a minimum of 180 days of aging. The Garrison Brothers Bourbon Barrel is aged exclusively in Texas straight, small batch bourbon whiskey barrels. So, have you taken a sip yet? What do you think about this?
I haven't had a sip yet. I was listening to all the things.
Cheers. Well, it's a bourbon barrel stout, all right.
It's creamier than I expected.
Super creamy.
Yeah, like almost like milk stout level creamy. Like it is, like definitely feel like there's some lactose something in there. What did you didn't read any milk or cream or anything?
None.
Why is it so thick and creamy? Coffee?
Definitely coffee.
Yeah, that is. Man, January 3rd over around a campfire.
Oh, come on.
That is
preach.
Yeah.
It is fire beer.
And it's a winter beer.
A winter beer. I know. I bought it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I intended to cellar it because I got I must say, not a brag, but if you're looking for this beer, well, you're not going to find it on shelves anymore. And if you do find it, it's going to cost you $30.
Penny.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And I did buy the old-fashioned version as well, and I was going to bring it on this podcast, but then we took a hiatus, and so I drank it without you. But it was
That's
really
okay. Much respect to that. We did take a hiatus, and that's, my bad. Apologies to the listeners as well.
good. No, they were like, thank God y'all shut up for a minute.
and came back with something different for a change.
Different. Why don't you talk about what's different about this version of the podcast for those who may not have caught last week's episode or last month's episode?
Well, we've changed it from a singular long-form conversation where we start having a beer and opening a beer and then talk, just jump into a theological conversation that's unscripted, and we just kind of go wherever we go.
So much fun.
For an hour. That's how it used to be. And it is fun. It's banter, but it would get really dense and I think boring is a great description word for it. And so I wanted to make some changes, and so now we broke it into these segments. And last time we had a segment called Art Archives and Theology Throwbacks. I'm not going to tell you what those are. You have to go check them out.
Last episode.
You can look right here for that. And so now we're gonna change those segments every week. It won't be the same every week. We'll still have our main divine discourse, the meat of the conversation, but the mini segments either side are gonna change. And so,
Good God!
Apologies.
Trigger warning.
Our first one for today is Sacred Spaces.
Sacred Spaces.
Well, actually, I guess we have to introduce our topic. Well, it's titled, so
Did
they
you
know it's about
rate the
creation.
beer?
Oh, apologies, I did not.
Okay.
What is your beer rating?
Let's rate this beer real quick, and then we're going to move on to our mini segment called Sacred Spaces. This is not my favorite stout, favorite imperial stout.
I think I'd say that. Do you like Russian Imperials?
I do.
Yeah.
I like them maybe a little bit aged, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, for sure. They are harsh. That malt is real forward on them when they're young.
I do get the Garrison, the bourbon, which is, if you've never had Garrison Brothers bourbon, it is also not the cheapest, but it is so good.
Yeah. Really? You would put it in the so good category.
I love it. I think it's very good. I just never buy it because for some reason it's double the price of the other stuff I drink. So
okay, interesting.
Maybe that's because it's good. But I'm going to give this beer did I rate the last beer?
Maybe not.
Man, we've really lost a step. I'm going to give this beer an 8.
Okay.
It's not the best Imperial I've ever had, but I'm also not displeased. I think in 2 years from now, this beer would be perfect.
It has a what is that?
Yum.
No, what is that lingering flavor on the back
Tobacco.
end?
I kind of get tobacco.
You're right. That's what I don't like about it. The only place I like
it's a little bitter.
Yeah. The only place I like getting tobacco. Yeah, tobacco is exactly what it is. You are spot on with that. I'm in the 7.6 range.
Okay.
I also think it's very good, but it not really my
cup of tea.
My normal
beer?
flavor palette. I don't, I like darker beers, but I don't really love, darker beers like this. And what's the ABV on this? 12 something, 14 something?
12.2.
Yeah. So when you get beer that has that high of ABV, that shit is just the flavors are going to be so much more pronounced than a 5.5% beer.
The beer, I do have a beer for next episode. It is 14+%. So
we've never drank a 120 together on this podcast.
Is that true? See the archives. I don't know. We've had a lot of 120s together, so.
Yeah, but I think I've drank it twice on this podcast, but they were both with Clayton.
Okay, all right.
Do you still consider it your favorite beer?
I don't know if it is my all-time favorite, but if I had a top 5, it would be on it for sure, always.
It's definitely in my top 5, and I go back and forth. I say that it's definitely in my top 3 of that beer is released every year.
Yeah.
If you go to that beer is released multiple times a year, because this one is April and September.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't realize that.
Well, it used to not be. It used to only be April.
4 packs
because it'd be around my birthday.
Yeah, that's right.
But then they said April and September because it was so popular. So now, if it's released multiple times a year, I think it probably is my favorite multiple release beer.
Also, not a cheap beer. But
oh no. You're gonna pay like $40 for a 4-pack.
Yeah,
it's very expensive.
Up
but
there.
I have 2 in the fridge. We might do that.
Dang, he said he's got that gold. All right, so that's our beer ratings.
Oh, and speaking of aged, they are probably 2 years old.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'll have to look on them.
They're all marked. They should be marked.
Yeah, they're probably 2 years old.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, let's go back to sacred spaces. Sacred spaces.
So the sacred spaces.
Yeah, talk about it.
The title might give it away, but before we talk about it, we have to establish one thing that's very different from our modern world, from the ancient world, and that is
TVs, porcelain toilets.
The lack of majesty.
Oh.
When we talk about, the beauty of creation, like the beauty and like the how that beauty makes us question divinity. Mm-hmm. Okay, but beauty is not majesty.
Okay.
I can look at something and be like, that's very beautiful, but I don't think it's majestic. See the difference?
Sure. Majestic is better? I don't know.
Not better, but it's different.
How?
It evokes some kind of grandeur.
Okay.
That is far greater, more expounded than just simple beauty, I would say.
Can you give me an example of something naturally occurring in the environment that is majestic?
Stars.
Okay.
But you don't think about them because we have light pollution. You can't see them from your backyard.
They're very. I can see. I definitely can see Orion, the full constellation, which includes the Big Dipper or Little Dipper. Yeah.
That's so minimal compared to what you could see.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I live in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, if we killed all the lights,
come on, yeah.
And so you think about an ancient person that literally they don't have light, they don't have electricity, they don't have light bulbs. So like when the sun goes down,
you
have fire.
Yeah.
And the stars.
Yeah. And the moon, of course. That other luminary body.
And so you look up at the stars and literally all night, especially when we were nomadic hunter-gatherers, like we don't have a closed route. Like we're just looking at the majesty of the stars. I think because we don't have the ability to just look up and see that majesty, it heightens our skeptic, our cynic, our inner skeptic and cynic, because we don't have a constant reminder of something that much more grander than ourselves.
Is that the only thing naturally occurring in our environment that you would call majestic, or is there something else?
Oh, I would call mountains majestic.
Like the Bengal tiger.
You mean like a creature?
Well, mountains was a great answer.
Yeah, I would say mountains are majestic, especially like I remember like going to Colorado and seeing like Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
And then I remember going to North Carolina and seeing forested mountains.
Yeah.
Especially when they were snow-topped.
Yeah.
That's majestic.
That's the
I don't know that I would call Colorado Rocky Mountains majestic.
Sorry to all the Colorado listeners and viewers.
But the forested mountains of North Carolina, especially when they're snow-capped, that shit is majestic.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay.
So sacred spaces, acknowledging the majesty that exists when you look at the stars. If you start trying to go back to some of our oldest places, the Bible has these stories of these like monuments, like when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, right? Like they set up a monument. So like
Ebenezer.
Yeah, exactly. So like there are these locations that mean something,
yeah.
Right? So like now in like our Christian world, I might only be able to say something like.
Oh wait, what did I say? Ebenezer? That's wrong. Ebenezer.
Here
I raise my Ebenezer. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But like in like our modern world, the only thing we might be able to compare that to would be like, like Golgotha or like the tomb of Jesus' body was buried in, like some sacred space like that had like relic potential. We don't really have that in modern Christianity anymore because of modernity. We don't credit that kind of enchantment to anything.
Sure, right. Well, but, I guess the Catholics do, but anyways.
Well, yeah, that's fair. But in the ancient world, they would have done that for everything. Mm-hmm. And when I mean everything, I mean everything.
Yeah.
Everything would have got some kind of altar or monument or something that was, if it was a major event. Well, we have existing remnants of like several of these spaces, and they even predate the Bible. Like we have prehistoric structures.
What?
Well, so there's a common like Stonehenge.
Oh,
Everybody knows that to be a prehistoric
demons,
structure.
aliens.
Something, right? We don't know. Like it requires some kind of technology that we don't know how they did that.
Yeah, it is wild.
And so like, but everybody just like accepts that's prehistoric, and prehistoric means pre our modern civilization.
Yeah, like
The history of our civilization, which we would trace back from Homo Neanderthal to Homo sapien, and it would, we would say it probably begins somewhere around the end of the last ice age.
Sure.
Well, so that's like 11,600 years ago or something like that. Like 11,600 BC. Sorry. So it's like, 9,800 BC. So it's like 12,000 years ago from today.
Okay.
Is what, that's what like the prehistoric marker would be. So everybody knows about Stonehenge, but there's not anything left except the pillars, right? So it doesn't really have much, it doesn't tell us much about them.
What about those faces on Easter Island? What are those things called? Anyways.
One thing we have figured out about Stonehenge is it's positioned the way that it is because of the solstice.
Stars.
It's related to the sun and how the sun goes.
It's a clock or calendar.
I don't remember all the science about it, but it's related to the stars.
Nice.
Well, there's another ancient, what some argue is prehistoric, in modern day Turkey called Göbekli Tepe.
Yes.
And this place is wild. It has art engraved on the stones. It has tunnels that connect it. Like, it is insane.
Predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years.
Yeah. So, like, to anybody that is like Genesis is the, origin of creation, like, you lost.
Dude, in 2008, the Smithsonian. Yes, on our other show. The Smithsonian published an article that said how do you pronounce it?
Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe upends the conventional view of the rise of civilization. That was in 2008.
Yeah. Well, there's also Quran Tepe, which is like 6 miles away from Göbekli Tepe.
Okay.
And it's only like 200 years older. But it's like a town that's now been buried.
Dude.
Like, yeah.
Modern day Turkey.
Yeah.
Almost on the Syrian border.
Right. But once again, Göbekli Tepe is designed
with the stars.
It's chasing a star called Sirius. Like, you can see as they continue to build it, it is chasing its major viewpoints.
What?
This one star called Sirius, and it's following it over hundreds of years as the Earth continues to rotate. And this is not just like, we're talking about Turkey. Like, there are some of these in America.
Oh, yeah?
There's one just in our neighbor, our crazy neighbors in Louisiana.
Dude, that's where you're from. Calm down.
Hey, I'm from Texas. Southeast Texas.
That East Texas. That
got represent.
That East Texas.
That deep South, East Texas.
Anyways.
Poverty Point
is in Louisiana.
A place in Louisiana. And it is, it's very ancient. It's a series of hills that are clearly man-made. They definitely used to have some kind of structures around them. But it's the same, we estimate it to be the same age. And it is also aligned
with
to
the stars.
The stars. It's about the solstice.
Wow.
So once again, and there's another one called Serpent's Mound.
Oh, it's a World Heritage Site. Serpent's Mound in Ohio.
Yeah, in Ohio. This is another one. It's a little bit different. Serpent's Mound will not draw the connection to the stars.
Why?
Because it requires them to date it much earlier than they currently are. Oh. They're currently only dating it to about 1000 BCE.
So they want to. So wait, they're unwilling to say that it's older than that.
Because because right now it doesn't. It's 2 degrees off from where the mouth of the serpent faces.
What?
And so if you trace it back to when it was aligned with the Sirius star, like the thing that they actually think that it's chasing, it's at the end of the last ice age.
Okay.
Like perfectly aligned with the end of the last ice age. So what I'm getting at with sacred spaces is like, we as a civilization who live removed from our natural habitat, like you don't live. Your predator is the Wall Street corporate mega giant. Like you're not worried about bears. You're not worried about cougars. You're not worried about a natural predator eating you.
Gotcha.
Our natural civilization living in such a way that is removed from our habitat, even to the point that like your feet probably haven't touched grass in how long?
Yesterday, bro. Sorry,
Oh,
that one
you
breaks
walked in your
down.
backyard.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the same boat, but I intentionally try to put my bare feet on grass.
I dig
every single
that.
day.
Yeah, I just hadn't put on shoes yesterday and had to go.
Fair. But a lot of people, especially if you think about somebody that lives in an apartment.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And when they leave their house, they have to have shoes on.
Yeah.
They drive a car to an office building, to a grocery store. Like those people's feet never touch grass, ground.
Yeah.
And even if they do, it's concrete.
Yeah.
Like that is, you are removed from your ecosystem at that point. And so with that, you forget how to live according to it. And, I consider myself an outdoorsman. I'm outside all the time. My free time, I hunt, I do all the outdoor things. I consider myself to be pretty attuned with the world. And I have chronic pain, so like when it gets cold, I know it's coming. Like I know how my body interacts with the wilderness.
Sure.
There are old men that I know that have spent way more time outside, that they know when it's about to rain,
dude,
because of how it smells.
I remember them good old boys in Riesel, bro. Man, the right
it's
ones,
wild, right?
The right ones just walk up to them and be like, "What's the forecast for tomorrow?"
Yeah, right.
And like they would know it from a meteorological perspective. They would understand it. They would have read the maps, but then they would also say, "Well, my right knee is telling me that this is going to happen."
Exactly.
And sure enough,
they'd be right.
The corn crops.
They'd be right.
It's just wild, man.
It's insane. And I think that's the point, is like you're living with your habitat. We don't. And so we've lost the concept.
It's a different habitat. We've created a new habitat.
Yeah. Well, Is it?
It's this. It's made out of
sheetrock.
It's made out of sheetrock.
It's lumber. It's commercialized. It's
it has copper
brick
wiring.
And mortar. Yeah. It is not anything like how we started.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
And so we're so far removed from it. And even think back to my point about this new civilization that we built, cutting us off now from the stars, the grandeur. Sure. I mean, I think about, the Abrahamic covenant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God says to Abraham, your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Now we'd look up and be like, well, goddamn, God. I think you should be doing a little better than that. You are giver of life.
But the point there is it's innumerable, right?
Right.
More than you can comprehend.
But we wouldn't know that.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we are so far removed from that element of majesty or living with our creation that it's hard for us to think about the creation itself mattering, much less there being a specific geographical location that matters that much. Like the only comparison that I would have to give to this is Israel-Palestine.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't do it. Don't do it.
I mean, we're not going to talk about that here, but like that concept that like an actual geographical location matters that much because of divinity.
Well, because of divinity. Yeah, I mean, like, I also think there are some places, the Vatican, right?
Yeah, okay, fair. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
When it burned down.
Yeah.
Maybe. There actually are some big metaphors now that we start talking about
Mecca in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Dome of the Rock.
There are, but they are all, they are religiously associated. You know what I mean? Like Constantinople, or wait, what's it called? That's the old name of it. Istanbul. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's places, but Israel, Palestine is the place.
Yeah. So we have all these ancient cultures that are clearly just mystified by the stars.
Sure.
Right? And like it's communicating something to them that we clearly don't understand.
Sure.
I know a lot of conservative Christians, if they're watching, they're like, oh my God, these guys are freaking out there. But especially because now when we talk about astronomy and like zodiacs, and people are like, oh, witch, paganism, all this stuff. But what I want to remind everyone
is it all that's in the Bible?
Well, the wise men found Jesus by looking at the stars.
They were zodiac witches, bro.
Yeah, and apparently they came to worship Jesus.
They were Babylonian soothsayers, man.
We can't be that scared of the stars and understanding what they have to communicate to us.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if you're going to read the New Testament like that, yeah, I mean, I guess God uses astrology to...
they literally knew where to go because
of the stars.
they looked at the stars.
Dude, there is also this, like, this theory, like when Daniel's brought into Babylonian captivity, he becomes, he is a dream interpreter and all that kind of stuff. And then he eventually is numbered among the Babylonian king's most, prominent.
Yeah, like right-hand man or whatever.
But he's magi.
Yeah.
And so he's one of the magician, that's where we get our word magician.
Yeah.
And so I've heard it argued that Daniel's prophecies, when he became a Babylonian soothsayer, that he incorporated a lot of the prophecies that he had about the coming of the Messiah into Babylonian astrological, something with a Z. Not zodiac, not Zoroastrianism.
Oh, yes.
Zoroastrianism, and it incorporated a lot of like Jewish mysticism and things like that. Anyway, so fast forward to the first century when the Magi are looking like they were referencing Daniel's prophetic material to. It's not witchcraft, God, Judaism, Zoroastrianism. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's enchantment, it's divinity, it's divine mystery, it's all the things. Yeah. It's a spiritual world. And maybe, I'm sitting here thinking about it, like, maybe coming up, let us know in the comments if you want us to do this, but we could do a whole episode on the connection between Christianity or spiritualism and psychedelics.
Whoa. Definitely.
Because like that, there's very good evidence, especially for the book of Revelation.
Moses was on something, y'all.
Yeah, like there's very good evidence. And we could do that. So let us know if you want us to talk about that. But it is mind-boggling to me that we've gotten to a place where we have to ask the question, should we care about the earth? And I think that's where we are. Like I think the average person asks, maybe not now because of the climate change issues and like the way people talk about it now, but I can remember like 30 years ago, people were definitely asking like, why Paul, especially Christians, like Paul says this is all going to pass away. Why should I even care?
Bro, okay, can I get on a soapbox real quick?
Yeah, step up.
If you are a human being living on planet Earth and you have the thought, why do we need to take care of the planet? Then your perspective of life is so privileged and so minuscule and so selfish. Like, sorry to call you out, but if you're really wrestling with the question of like, should we take care of this place? That is like the most anti-human thing you could do.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you feel this way.
Because it's like, what else do we have? Look.
It's all we have.
Even if you think you're going to heaven.
Even if you think you're Elon Musk and you can leave this place for Mars.
Fair. Even if you think like it is all going to burn down, etc. All of that is theory.
Yeah.
Do you know what is not theory? The pH balance of the soil outside that window and whether or not the grass is going to grow. That's not a theory. It's going to happen.
Oh, done deal.
I can see it. I can feel it. I can eat it. I can taste it. I can smell it. I can all the things.
Yeah.
And if we don't take care of that patch of grass right there, then we aren't taking care of our home.
Yeah.
And more importantly, a home for the future.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the deal. I mean, it's hard for me to have this conversation. Well, I guess maybe with you, it's a very good conversation partner because, like, for me,
thank you.
I, like my freezer's full of deer meat that I killed.
Yeah.
This season and last season.
Yeah. I respect that.
I know where my food comes from.
Yeah.
I know how it's done. I worked on farms. I lived growing up in the rice capital of Texas. Like I in an agricultural community, as you might imagine.
Oh, right.
I know how all this stuff works. But I think the truth is the average person that lives in the city, because this civilization that we've built has taught them that they don't have to worry about where it comes from.
Sure.
They don't.
Sure. Right. Of course.
So they have no concept. Like, they don't know. And so it's really easy, especially when we get on a conversation of climate change. Like, this is one of my bugaboos, is if you want to talk about climate change, I'm there. We should be taking care of the planet. I'm a hunter, a conservationist. Like, you don't got to convince me. I'm team. But if your first thing that you want to attack is cows because they fart too much methane,
but they do,
get the out of here.
But they do, though.
The conversation point needs to be our coal plants. The conversation point needs to be the way that we're it up.
It needs to be all of the above.
Yeah, it's not It's
the agro-industrialization of cows that is the problem, not the cows. It is the mass production of cows for the sake of an American's appetite that is the problem, not the cows themselves.
Well,
I love a cow.
To be fair, that's not, if you're talking about that problem,
I am.
It's not an American problem.
Oh, no.
Because we only raise 11% of all the beef consumed in America.
Okay, but look.
The rest of that imported.
Which is a problem, yes.
Well, also, but also the problem's not just that. It's that it's coming on a tugboat.
It's that
it's coal powered.
It's that McDonald's sells a quarter pounder for $3.99 or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know when the last time you ate a quarter pounder was, but it ain't no $3.99.
I don't know.
It's like $9.99.
Golly, yeah. It's about overconsumption. It's about the misuse.
That's probably fair.
It's about the misuse of what you're referring to as our habitat.
It's excess.
It's the excess.
It's the boastfulness.
I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could be. I think I'd be fine. I respect people who are, but like, I
would not be. I would not be fine.
I don't respect you. Oh my God. I'm trying to be more inclusive of our audience there, Cullen.
Well, to be fair, I'm not the one that said I didn't respect you. You did.
What I'm saying is, though, like I don't, like, it's not inherently bad. Like, also, like, here, look, okay, here, I'm gonna put all my cards on the table. I don't think we ever fully get off of oil and coal.
Oh no. If we got off oil, when people say we have to get off oil, when people say that, they have no idea what they mean. Because if we got off oil, you wouldn't have shoes.
You wouldn't. Yeah,
you wouldn't have rubber tires.
That TV.
The shit that we have that has oil in it, you don't understand.
Petroleum is an important resource for many, many things. But again, the deal is, though, it's about excess. It's like, does everything have to be made out of petroleum products?
Well, but also, we have larger problems. Like, we can attack that problem, but that problem seems a little bit out of reach. Like, what's out of reach there is research and development. Like, even for carbon capture, we have the technology to suck all the carbon out of the atmosphere.
Yeah,
we could literally do that. We could build a bunch of carbon capture facilities, and we could suck all the carbon that we have emitted out.
Well,
we could just
The
problem is, what do you do with it as you're capturing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we don't know. We don't have a viable disposal unit. Yeah, we could pump it back down in the empty cavities that are gas wells.
That seems problematic.
Yeah, like, we don't have a great solution. And we're already doing that, right? We're pumping it in there to get the rest of the oil and the gas out. Well, but this is still down in there.
This is the thing. It takes innovation, right? It takes human progress and innovation. And so, like, we need a collective effort of various innovative approaches to reduction and removal. Right. And so, like, electric cars is a good move forward. Is it perfect? No. How much emissions, how much is emitted making those batteries? Yeah, we've got problems. Like, right. The electric car batteries, like, they still rely on non-renewable sources of energy. I understand. How long, how much carbon is released into the atmosphere to build wind turbines? I get it.
Yeah. Well, and even our current renewable energy solutions are not great solutions.
That's what
because,
I'm saying.
like, the silica sand, in the solar panel, not recyclable. The steel frame on it and all that, not recyclable. Like, there's not a single piece of that that's recyclable. Yeah. We have problems. Every piece of the turbine on the windmill, not recyclable. Yeah. Like, we have huge problems.
Donald Trump thinks that causes cancer, but which is
also
asinine.
We shouldn't just overlook the fact that we've trained some Americans to recycle items that can be recycled.
Yeah.
but only 9% of what we allocate for recycling actually gets recycled.
I know.
So like we have this problem of like, okay, Americans can keep allocating shit for recycling, but if we don't innovate, we don't figure out what we're going to use for the recycling, it's just going to keep ending up in the same trash piles that it's already going to.
That is exactly what's happening. Not that you shouldn't recycle. You should definitely reduce, reuse, and recycle. But anyway.
Yeah.
Great point.
But it's like we have these much larger conversation points about this issue that are not being talked about in the political landscape.
Political discourse.
There you go.
Yeah.
The politicizing of this issue. And like, for me, that's a huge problem because like, for me, it's not a political issue.
Sure.
I watched my community suffer over 30 years of witnessing climate change.
Sure. Exactly.
I mean,
ask a farmer if climate change is a thing, right?
It's not a question.
Right. I mean, it's the data is evident.
It's like, every summer's hotter. The winters are, much less predictable.
The rain is wetter. The temperature is hotter. Like everything's getting more extreme. And that's the deal with climate change. It's not that like one day we're in an ice age. It's that weather patterns intensify and become more extreme. And so the infrastructure that we've built to reduce harm from the intensity of weather patterns is failing us.
Now, I will say, we do have some great technology that can help with a lot of these issues.
Definitely.
Like, my dad is a VP for an oil and gas EPC company, an engineering, procurement, and construction company. And every single carbon capture project in the world, they have been involved in, either in engineering or construction.
Wow.
Every single hydrogen energy project in the world, they have been involved in.
Great renewable source.
Electric or in engineering or construction. They have a thing right now that they can build that goes on to an existing chemical exhaust flare. Like you can go to any plant.
I'm very as a Houstonian, I'm very familiar with what that is.
they can build this thing, install it into the unit, and literally, my dad says they have a video of they built it in Saudi Arabia somewhere, but it's a chemical exhaust flame. They build this unit around it. And it's a valve. Literally, you're seeing just immense smoke. Just the black, nasty, red fire flames.
Yep.
They turn the valve on.
Clear.
Boom. It's clear. Just looks like heat going off.
Look, this is the thing. Okay, and that's a for-profit company, right?
Yeah, for-profit company.
This is the thing about climate change.
They also have plenty of hydrogen options. Like, yeah, blue hydrogen and green hydrogen.
Right.
Green hydrogen, not the answer. But blue hydrogen, my dad made a great point. I was talking to him the other night. My dad was like, look, blue hydrogen, we should just steal that shit from water. He was like, we literally have water. And, we were talking about the last ice age, the Younger's Dryers theory. Well, at the end of the ice age, from the end of the ice age, the last ice age to now, the sea levels have risen 120 feet.
That's a lot.
So we could suck that much. Like, think about how many gallons of water exist, and we've risen 120 feet of sea level in that amount of time. The Earth could sustain taking some of that out, getting the hydrogen out, and then your byproduct, Adam, what's your byproduct of H2O when you're taking the two H's and seawater?
I think, actually, I don't know what the chemical compound would be, but I would assume you would get some oxygen and some salt, which is...
That's exactly what you get.
Yeah.
You get
sodium chloride.
You literally get salt crystals and oxygen.
Yeah, right.
Salt to sell.
Right.
Saltwater pools, salt for people's food, whatever. Salt, whatever. We use salt for all kinds of shit.
Sure.
Salt to sell for a for-profit company.
Maybe you have
oxygen as your byproduct.
Maybe you have a lot of glass sitting around your home that needs to be cleaned. Salt is good for cleaning glass.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? Diesel is?
The fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how it's made?
It's something. It's also made out of petroleum.
It's a byproduct of making gas.
But I was gonna say, but it's a byproduct, right?
It's a byproduct.
Yeah.
We ended up with it because we got gas.
And we had this stuff left over.
It's less efficient in its unrefined state.
Yeah.
Now we've put refinements on it
because we put it in vehicles.
Yeah, and trucks use it, and so in that way it's more efficient.
Right.
But yeah, diesel is your byproduct of making gas.
Right.
You know what your byproduct of making hydrogen hydrogen energy is?
I guess
oxygen.
Yeah.
You just pump that back out into the environment. And my dad was telling me, it is more efficient than nuclear energy.
Nuclear energy is too dangerous.
I know, but hydrogen's not.
No, I get it.
It's completely safe.
So that's another debate that happens in the climate change world too. Is like, well, we can move to nuclear because it is extremely efficient.
Well, Chernobyl. Everybody knows about Chernobyl.
Let's take it to last decade. Japan.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody knows about the issues.
It is very, very, very unsafe and unstable. So that's the problem. It would be a great energy source if we could ever figure out how to keep it from killing us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, and so I think all of these things, come to a point where it's reasonable to see why the average person struggles to understand not only should they care about the climate, but how to help. It feels daunting, especially when we're like, okay, yeah, we could do this. Like, also my dad was telling me, like Norway is like prized as like the thing for, like a green country, like a carbon neutral.
Don't they drill a ton of oil?
Yes, my dad was like, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
My dad was like, it's all media. He was like, they're green because they export all their own oil. They don't use it. But it's like, it's not like they're not participating in the thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And so like for us over here in America, like we're, truly we're some of the ones that are leading the charge on the climate change issue. And
I think the private, look, this is what I was going to say earlier before we got off, like your dad's company. I think American government is impotent. Our current congressional delegation can do nothing, literally nothing, pass nothing, do nothing. So while they should be working on climate change, they're not. But guess who is? The oil companies.
Yeah.
They get it. They understand. You're telling me Saudi Arabia is putting caps? You just said it's like putting caps on the flares.
Oh yeah.
If the Gulf states were really smart, they would figure out how to make oil carbon capture.
Well, bro, it's billions. It's money. It costs so much money to build this infrastructure to do all these things.
I bet they do. What I'm saying is they're going to build it.
Oh, eventually, yeah, but it'll take 100 years or more to come up with the capital to upgrade these products. Because what they're not going to do is they're not going to take an existing facility that makes money and is operating, that is relatively new, and spend more money on it to upgrade it when they haven't even hit profitability on the current one.
See, that's the bull crap right there. That's where we should be doing that exact thing. And the government,
bro, that's not how economics work.
No, I understand. That work has to be subsidized by the government.
Yeah, where are you going to come up with that money, bro?
Taxes on the rich.
So the people that own those energy companies?
Yeah.
Hell no, you're never going to get that passed.
Why? Because politics are corrupt?
Yeah, because those companies bought our politicians.
There you go. That's why you vote for people who aren't bought. No PAC money.
Oh, yeah, no. Also, to all who celebrate, hooray that Senator Graham is leaving.
South Carolina? Wait, which Senator Graham? Lindsey Graham?
Oh, sorry, not Senator Graham. Mitch McConnell is leaving his position. And it made me think about it because he's the reason we have super PACs. You can thank Mitch McConnell. Anyways, enough for that political side swipe.
And the Republican-controlled Supreme Court. Anyways, what are we doing here?
I do want to hit a brief note on environmental justice. I don't know how much time we have before the camera's about to go.
Not much.
Environmental justice. All these companies that do all these things, and I can say this. I live in Mont Belvieu, Texas. 50% of every pipeline in America at some point makes its way through Mont Belvieu, Texas.
Darn.
There are 3 Fortune 100 energy production companies that are headquartered in Mont Belvieu, Texas. I know so much about this industry. I've lived here my whole life. I've watched it happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you that is probably not great for the communities around it.
Duh.
I'm just going to go ahead and say, like...
And they know that. The companies know that.
Yeah. And that's why we have zoning.
Right.
Because they try to get it just far enough away. But people are people of, luxury. So we want to live close to where we work.
Do you care? Should local and state governments care?
Well, look.
Should they care about the health of their populations?
Yeah,
I think care about the
public health should be but here's the thing. Maybe this is a conversation for another episode, but I've seen the way our government does public health, and I'm not super happy with it. But
the alternative is what?
Nonprofit run. Bro, we already have that.
This is a conversation for another podcast. So let me follow up on that then. Mont Belvieu, Texas, when you were living here, was it an extremely wealthy community?
Wealthy, no. Better off than state benchmarks? Absolutely.
Because of the oil money?
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a top 30, school district in the nation, maybe top 10 in the state. And that's 1,000% not because they hire better teachers. It's because they have more money. Like the companies have to pay taxes, like property taxes that go straight to the school. Like that's how we fund them. Like, it makes sense that the school would have more resources here and therefore be better because of the money available from the profit.
Bro, Riesel ISD built all sorts of new buildings when they let the coal plant move in next door.
Yeah, it makes sense. But, I mean, you had to sacrifice that it's a coal plant.
You have to buy off the community. You have to say, hey, we'll build you pretty buildings, but your groundwater is effed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's anything.
I mean, yeah.
Well, it's like, people don't talk enough about this, but, Mercury, the camera's gone. Apologies.
Peace be with you, camera.
Yeah, apologies to the viewers. We'll wrap this up. But
where'd they go?
Mercury levels in fish. Like, mercury's toxic.
Yes. Everything. Microplastics and literally everything you eat at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, we have major problems here. And
we got major problems.
The short answer is, at least where I'm at on it, is like, absolutely we should care. And the reason that we don't care enough is because we've created a habitat for ourselves that exists.
It's not. We don't.
Exists removed from the actual habitat that we live in.
We don't see it as sacred,
or we don't even see that we're a part of it.
Isn't it interesting that like the average American perspective on property is actually about its monetary value, not its sacred value?
Well, that's because everything's been corporatized.
Yeah, man.
And everything's been monetized.
What a problem.
But in America, you're a number. You're a number to everything. In everything. To your mortgage company, you're a number. To the government, you're a driver's license number, a social security number. To your insurance company, you're a policy number. Like, you are a
capitalism.
Number. Yeah. Like, that's the deal. But also, like, don't come at capitalism.
Don't
come at capitalism.
See us on the next episode of Pints and Perspectives where we talk about capitalism. I don't know.
That's not what we're going to be talking about. I don't know what we're gonna
come up with a solution. We're gonna come up with a solution to Middle East peace.
No, let us know what you think. We're gonna be doing something like feminism. At one point we'll do politics. I don't know. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about.
All I do is win, win, win. Okay, hey, thanks. Bye.
See ya.